Hold on tight, because If We Survive by Andrew Klavan is the adventure of a lifetime. In true Indiana Jones fashion, there is a battle royale with a crocodile, a trip down raging rapids towards a waterfall, a firing squad, snake attacks, secret passages through tombs, a dungeon prison, and bloodthirsty gangsters. This book ticks all the boxes on an adventure checklist. Will, 16, is on a mission trip to Central America to rebuild a collapsed school, accompanied by Pastor Ron, Jim, Nikki, and Meredith. As the group is saying their goodbyes to the village, they come under attack by brutal rebels who are overthrowing the government. Those who have been unsupportive of the rebels are shot on sight, followed by any Americans they might find. Will and his fellow missionaries are rounded up and sent before the firing squad. In the nick of time, they're rescued by Palmer Dunn, an American expatriate who is friend to the local villagers. Unfortunately, they jump out of the pan and into the fire. The rebels are none too pleased to lose their American prizes, and a race through the jungle ensues. To escape the rebels, the party moves deep into the jungle, where they make some new acquaintances. Red touches yellow, kills a fellow. Red touches black, you're all right, Jack. I peered down, narrow-eyed, through the rain and saw the bands on the twining creature's scales touch the bands of yellow. It was a coral snake, all right. One bite from one of those, and you were history. A lousy way to die. In a panic now, Nikki was trying to draw her feet up away from the oncoming thing, but that just made her lose her footing, so that her body slid down the mud wall toward it. I could hear her whimpering under Meredith's hand as she realized she had to let her feet down into the mud to stop her fall. She planted her feet right next to the snake, and the snake did not like that. He lifted his head as if he were ready to strike, his tongue darting out of his mouth, and his cold, blank, unfeeling eyes stared at Nikki's sneakers. Nikki, wide-eyed with terror, somehow managed to keep still. Finally, I guess the snake decided the danger had passed, and he lowered his head to the ground again and went on slithering toward her. And once again, they're out of the frying pan into the fire. Then Palmer looked up at me, and with one swift, smooth motion, he pulled that giant hunting knife out of his belt. "Hold still a second, kid," he said. Before I could even react, before I could even understand what he was saying, his hand flicked like a bullwhip and the knife came flying toward me, flying straight at my face. I didn't have time to flinch. I didn't have time for anything. The knife struck, plunged into the mud of the ravine wall, right next to me, right next to my head, maybe an inch or two away, no more. I turned to look at it, and I couldn't help myself. I let out a sharp cry and scrambled away from the spot, slipping and splashing in the mud. There, on the mud wall, pinioned by Palmer's knife, thrashing in its hideous death throes, was a spider the size of a loaf of bread. Really, I'm not exaggerating. The size of one of those big, round loaves of sourdough bread. Well, when they finally reach civilization, they find themselves face to face with the rebels again, who are determined to capture and kill the Americans. After a few moments, the lieutenant straightened. "I am under orders from President Kobar and the Revolutionary Council to bring all foreigners in for questioning," he said. Even over the chopper noise, I could hear he spoke English excellent, and with only a slight accent. "You will be taken to the central prison until the council has decided what is to be done with you." I felt a hand on my arm and glanced down to see Palmer gripping me. At first I didn't know why, but in the next moment I understood. Because in the next moment Nikki cried out. The soldiers had surrounded her and grabbed her by both arms. They grabbed Meredith too and started hauling the two girls toward one of the trucks. I realized with dread they were going to separate us, the girls from the boys. My whole body tensed with the instinct to try to stop them, but Palmer's hand on my arm kept me from reacting, which probably also kept me from getting shot on the spot. They hoisted the girls up into the back of one pickup. 3 soldiers got in with them as 2 more got into the cab. The soldiers in back with the girls were leering and grinning and making remarks to the other soldiers, and the ones who were left behind with us. The looks on their faces made my heart turn black with fear and anger. Don't worry, you'll get no more spoilers from me. You'll have to read If We Survive by Andrew Klavan to find out where those crocodiles, tombs, and dungeons come into play. And if you find high adventure is your thing, try Suburban Danger by Megan Whitson Lee or Autonomous by Andy Marino.